Hi, this is Mark Johnston. I'm with the Energy Resources Center at UIC. Today I'm going to be talking about the Bumblebee CBA Baseline Acres tool. And we're going to show you first off, this is a really well documented tool. So this document here can walk users through exactly how to upload your data and use this tool in order to kind of look at the intersection between your management areas or enrolled lands and the areas of occurrence with bumblebee species. And so after you kind of go through this process, you get to the bottom here and you're going to see a report is generated that's going to allow you to apply for your CBA application and to be able to indicate exactly how many acres of overlap you have with different bumblebee species. Great. So I'm going to show you next where you can find this document. So if you just go to our website, the Rights of Way is Habitat Working Group website. The URL for that is just rightsofway.erc.uic.edu. You can see up here. And on this page, there's first of all, there our conservation agreement toolkit. If you click on that, you're going to see information about both the CCAA and the CBA for bumblebees. And in this database repository here, you're going to be able to see that document that I just showed you earlier in how to walk through the use of this tool. All right, so let's get started. And in order to use this tool, you're going to need to have an account inside of the Rights of Ways Habitat database. So you can get that if you're not already a member of the database. You can go to Resources and Tools and Geospatial Database. That's going to bring you to this kind of landing page of the database. And then if you click on the Get Started, you're going to see Intake Questionnaire. So if your organization is not a part of the database, you're going to need to first join the database in order to use this tool. So fill out that intake questionnaire and that'll get your organization joined up. And that is free to get started. Great. After that, you'll have a login account in order to join, to log into ArcGIS Online. So if you just go to arcgis.com, you can then click on sign in. So I'm going to use my ERC account here to sign in. Once you get to this page, you're going to want to go up to where it says groups. Click on that groups menu item, and then you're going to see all the different groups that you're a member to. There may be some that are just within your own organization if you are using your own ArcGIS Online account. So each organization that's joined the database should have access to the demo group. This is just kind of a sandbox area where you can upload data and test out different tools without affecting your own data sets. Do be aware that anything you upload to that is also accessible to other organizations that have access to it. So it's just a common place to upload data sets where anyone will have access to it. You may instead want to go to your own organization's pages. And so you're going to specifically be looking for the management group. You can click on that. And I guess I should quickly point out if you have, maybe you have one member who has access to this and you'd like to add more members to give them access to this tool. You can see which members have access by clicking on the Members tab. And if they're not on your list, you can go up to Invite. And then you'll want to click on this slider tool here and then unclick the slider tool underneath that. And then you can simply type in the user's ArcGIS Online account. So for me, Mark Johnston. And let's see, so I have like another account here, this community account. So I can click on that and hit invite. And an important note here is that you will not get an email. Instead, that user will need to log into ArcGIS Online and look for this bell icon in the top right. When they click on that, they're going to see any kind of invitations they may have to join different communities. And so that would allow them to join the ERC management group or your organization's management group. All right, great. So let's go back to my groups and I'm going to scroll down to that management group again. Um, so within here, you're going to want to first click on this view all content. And that's just going to make sure that all of the different objects are available to you that are in the list. And this very first one here, it may be different on yours, but you're going to be looking for this Bumble Bee CBA baseline acres tool. You can also change the way that this looks by sorting it out as a list here or table, or as a grid, but these are really big icons. All right, great. So we're going to go to the CBA baseline acres tool and you want to click on view. All right, so this brings up the tool. And for this example, I'm going to focus on St. Paul. I know that this particular area, St. Paul, Minneapolis, St. Paul area has a lot of overlap with some of the different endangered bumblebee species. So we'll run our little test here. If this is your first time visiting the page, if you click on this first icon for the bar graph, you're going to have no data here. When we come back later, after we run our analysis, this is where we're going to see our results. Um, an important thing to know about this tool is after you've uploaded some data, overnight, our system is going to actually run those reports for you. So you can simply come back here and view your results if you have any management areas that have been uploaded to your database system. So if you already have management areas, you may already see some results on that page. I'm going to come down here to click on the wrench icon, and this is kind of where all the tools are located. And the first step you're going to want to do is either import center lines, or if you already have management areas, then you can just start with management areas and not have to go through a process of buffering out those center lines. But for my example, I'm going to start with center lines. So I'm going to click on that. My organization ID should already be selected. And I'm going to click on upload data. And so now I'm going to want to get to, I know that I've already worked with my GIS department and I've got a zip file that has a shape file of all my roadway center lines. Actually, these are railroad center lines. So I've uploaded that. So again, it's important to know that this shape file or geodatabase has already been zipped up into a single file that can be uploaded. Once you've done that, you can either have the output of this go just onto the map in a temporary fashion or actually go into your database. In order to really make this tool work, it needs to go into the database. So I'm going to select center lines. So the center lines that I'm importing will go into my center lines within the database for my organization. This email here is uh, just for folks to know who uploaded the data. So I'll put in my email there. And then important note for kind of advanced use, if I want to upload several different files of center lines, I could do that and I could specify maybe one area is in the north, one's in the south, or one's for a specific program. Maybe my areas where I have one corridor or another corridor, you could call out those by name and then run separate reports on those and even buffer them in different ways as well. I'm just going to keep it generic here. So I'm just going to say, just run it without putting in a value in there. So that's submitted and we're waiting for the results. These other two are just analyses that I've run in the past. You can ignore those. But this will give a history of all the different tools that you've run. And so this will take a few minutes to run, but it's going to get there it goes, it's just finished. So now if I go back and look at my layers, I'm going to click on that. And if I turn on center lines, there we go. All my center lines got imported. So those are all center lines representing the railroad areas in around um, Minneapolis, St. Paul. You'll notice these two layers are also turned on, so the management areas and the bee habitat, and we're not seeing any data in there yet. And that's because we need to create those management areas based on our center lines. So if I hide those, all we're seeing is the base map. We're not really seeing anything else. You can also change the base map. Maybe it's hard to see my data because there's much else going on this map. So there's a whole variety of different maps I can select from. Maybe I want something really simple here. And then I can go back, turn those center lines back on. It's a little easier to see. Great. So the next step we're going to do is go back to the tools, that wrench icon. We're still looking at the history, so we need to go over here to the tools button. And we've already imported our center line, so I'm going to hit the back button. And now the next step is going to be, and I'm not importing management areas, so I don't have those. So my next step is to buffer my center lines in order to create those management areas. Okay, so I've already put in my center lines, so now I just want to choose a unit of measure to buffer those out. I'm going to use feet. I'm going to want the result again to go into the database, so not to the map, but to the management areas. I could give this again a group name. This group name here would be if I only wanted to run a subset of those center lines that I've uploaded. So again, in that example, like maybe I've got a north corridor and a south corridor, I'd want to type it in exactly the way that I did when I imported the data, and then I could buffer the north separate from the south. Or maybe if I'm a utility company, maybe I have kind of a higher power, higher kilovolt center line that's going to represent something that is a bit of a wider corridor or a more narrow corridor. And so I might want to run these buffers separately. All right, so this is railroads. So I'm going to buffer out my left habitat. So this is left of the center line. I'm going to say it goes out, let's say 75 feet of habitat. And there's also some non-habitat. So right along the center line, I've obviously got the tracks. So I'm going to say there's about 30 feet both to the right and to the left of non-habitat areas. And then beyond that, again, is 75 feet on the left and on the right. So down the center, I've got 60 feet total of non-habitat areas representing where those tracks are and all the rock and so forth that's underneath the trail line, the train lines. All right, I'm going to run that. And then this is, again, going to be creating my um, buffered center lines, which is going to result in my management areas or using a different language, kind of those will be referred to as like our enrollment acres for the purpose of this demonstration. So once that finishes, we'll be ready to run our analysis to start looking at the overlap. Pretty simple process to complete all these steps. Okay, so you can see that completed. It does take a while to run, so you may need to kind of be prepared for that. If you've got a really large data set with a whole bunch of center lines, you may actually need to run this buffering process with your own GIS department or with a consultant. We at UIC can help with that process if you reach out to us. Okay, so in order to see those results now, we're going to want to first make sure the layer is turned on. So go over here to your layers button, and you can see it is turned on because it doesn't have the line going through it. I just turned it off there. Now it's back on. But the layers are, but the buffered out center lines are not showing up yet. Here's our center lines, turn those off. The reason for that is we have a filter that's turned on by default. So you're gonna have to turn off that filter and it zooms out, but let's see. So these are now our buffered out areas. Let's zoom into this area along the waterway. And so you can see here's our the railroad track kind of runs right through the middle here. And then we got our buffered out habitat areas. So two parallel polygons on the two sides representing habitat. Great. So we have our center lines buffered out, and these are now our management areas, and we're ready to move on to the next step of the analysis. So I'm going to click on the wrench icon again, click on tools, and then come down here to analyze bee habitat. I click on that. The organization is selected by default. Um, so now there's a few options here. You can click on Run Analysis, generate a PDF report, and generate a CSV report. This is probably what you want to do. However, if you uploaded your management areas in the past, let's say you already had management areas and you didn't need to do those first steps, we do have overnight, these analyses are run for every organization, whether you run it yourself or not. So you can skip running the analysis if you're coming back to this. Let's say we could upload today and then come back the next day and just review the results. The reason for that is it is a slow process of running the analysis. But I'm going to hit run and I'll probably just fast forward through time here to show you the results. But here I'm hitting that run button now. All right, and we'll come back in a second after this is finished running. So while this analysis is running, we can also kind of view the data some more. So I'm going to go in and change the base map to imagery hybrid. And now we can see our center line. Here we can see the rail line and those two buffered out areas on either side of the tracks. It looks like it did a pretty good job for just making an estimate. Oh, and those results are starting to come in. So these polygons that we're seeing on the map here are actually showing some of those overlaps with bee habitat areas. Um, it's a little zigzagged just because the resolution of the original data that we're intersecting with are pixelated that way. But you can see it worked. And if I click on it, let's see, switch back to here. So we're seeing there's one bee species that intersects with that yellow area. If we saw orange or red, that would indicate two or three bee species that also intersect. We can start to zoom out a little bit here. And let me see, the analysis did complete. So that's why that popped up on the screen. Remember that filter tool that we turned off earlier? I'm now going to turn that back on. And so what that will do is remove um, all of the buffered out areas that do not have any interaction with the overlap of bumblebee areas, occurrence areas. And now we can come up here and click on that pie chart, and we can start to cycle through one by one all the features that have intersections. And it will tell us, so this is Bombus affineus and also Pennsylvanicus, and it tells you there's a 13% over 13 acres of overlap and 16.7 acres of overlap in that particular polygon area. And we can do this some more. Seeing another area, this has an intersects with one species. Just keep bouncing around. So it's a pretty great tool for being able to go in and sort of analyze what your data is. I'm going to zoom in a little tighter. So here in these areas, you can see we're intersecting with two species. And then the pie chart also gives you an idea of total habitat area that you're intersecting with, and then specific species of overlap. So in addition to being able to view and pan and see all these results, you can also then go back to that tool and look at the output. So I'm going to click on here to show that history tool. So make sure on the history tab and click on the last report run. And so now you're going to see there's a PDF report hyperlink as well as a CSV. And so I'm going to click on the PDF and that'll give me a report. So I've got American Bumble Bee species, and here's my total acres of overlap. It looks like 2,568. And then Rusty Patch, close to 2,000. And then also Yellow Banded has 972 acres of overlap. And then it also has the totals up here above. Keep in mind that the totals up here may not equal the totals down below because some of these areas, as we saw, as we were cycling through, do overlap with each other. And so that's to avoid any kind of double counting. This number is the actual total overlap, not double counting it. Let's go back to the tool like once more and also look at the CSV output. Okay, it downloaded it, and I'm going to click on open file. So if you have Excel, this will open up in Excel. And so now this is going to go through polygon by polygon and show all areas of overlap and break it down by species. Let me expand that out a little bit. But so Rusty Patch, for example, is right here. Great. So I hope you enjoy using this tool. You can see it goes through every single polygons. So you're going to have a big output. Great. Well, I hope you enjoy using the tool and I hope it allows you to apply for the CBA. And please let us know if you end up having any questions or